Nobody at the local coffee shop knows who you really are. You sit in the exact same corner booth every Tuesday morning, sipping a simple black coffee. The barista calls you by your first name and assumes you're just a freelance accountant. You've never bothered to correct her. Your phone buzzes against the table, but you only glance at it for a second before flipping it face down. It's a dashboard alert showing that 14 rental units just auto-deposited over $30,000 into your account. No drama, no stress, just silent money. This is your actual life, and it looks absolutely nothing like what people imagine when they hear the word millionaire. But your story didn't start with a massive tech startup or a multi-million-dollar investment. It started 11 years ago with a broken break room vending machine. You were 26, working a logistics job in Ohio, and quietly miserable. You showed up on time every day, but your mind had completely checked out. One afternoon, you watched a coworker lose his last dollar to the broken machine for the third time that week. The building manager just shrugged when you pointed it out. You stood there looking at the machine, realizing that 300 people in this building needed an afternoon snack, and nobody was fixing the problem. That night, you stood in your kitchen eating cold pasta straight from the pot, doing the math in your head. You called 6 different vending machine companies before you found one willing to lease to a beginner. You scheduled a meeting with your building manager and pitched him a simple deal. 15% of the gross revenue went to him in exchange for exclusive access. He agreed, and you sealed your first actual business deal with a simple handshake in a boring conference room. You didn't have capital for delivery fees, so you borrowed your friend's pickup truck on a Saturday morning. You didn't even tell him what it was for. You moved the heavy machines into the building entirely by yourself. The weekend security guard just watched you, clearly thinking you were wasting your time. After your first full month of operation, you finally tallied up your profits after expenses. You had made exactly $340. You stood in your small bathroom, looked at yourself in the mirror, and honestly wondered if this whole thing was just stupid. It wasn't life-changing money, it barely covered your groceries. But instead of quitting, you took every single cent of that $340 and reinvested it. You put a machine in a second building by month 4. By month 7, you had machines in a third building. All the while, you were still clocking in at your miserable logistics job, pretending nothing had changed. You kept it a complete secret. You didn't tell your friends, and you definitely didn't tell your family. You knew that if you told your mother, she would have told you it was too small to matter and told you to stop bothering. By year 3, you had quietly scaled up to 43 machines across 11 different buildings. You hired a part-time assistant who just thought you were a regular guy with a tiny side hustle. Your monthly profit grew to $8,900. It was completely and totally boring. But that was the day you realized a massive truth about wealth. The boring stuff rarely fails dramatically. Nobody writes viral articles about vending machines. It just quietly sits there, printing money, while everyone else chases flashy trends. You also learned that silence isn't just about modesty. Silence is your armor. The second people truly understand how much money you have, a terrifying shift happens in their eyes. You stop being a person to them. You instantly become a financial resource, a solution to every problem they've ever had. So you learn to disappear in plain sight. When people at networking events asked what you drove, you told them the truth. You watched them mentally downgrade their expectations of you. And you realized that being underestimated was the greatest protection you could ever ask for. You own the entire apartment building on the north side of the city and have for 6 years. But you live in Unit 2B, and your name on the mailbox looks exactly like everyone else's. One October morning, Mrs. Patterson from Unit 4A stops you in the hallway to complain about a leaking pipe. She vents about the absentee landlord who never answers his emails on time. You nod politely, apologizing on behalf of the landlord as if you're just his humble spokesperson. The moment the elevator doors close, you call your property manager. A plumber is at her door by noon to fix the leak. The next morning, she slides a small handwritten thank you note under your door, praising the nice young man in 2B. You tape that note directly to your refrigerator door. It stays there for 2 years because it impacts you in a way your massive net worth never could. By year 5, your steady vending machine profits give you enough capital to fund an even less glamorous venture. You buy an old run-down laundromat in Dayton. The 67-year-old owner just wants to retire to Arizona. You hand him $43,000 in cash, upgrade the machines, and install modern card readers. You hire an experienced manager named Sandra to handle the daily operations. In 8 months, your total revenue spikes by 40%. You only visit the laundromat twice, once to sign the papers and once because Sandra wants to show you a jam coin counter just to establish absolute transparency. Next come parking lots. You find 2 neglected municipal properties late on a Wednesday night while eating cereal and reading obscure city tax lien notices online. You acquire them for cheap. A third-party parking operator manages everything for an 18% cut, leaving you with $4,400 a month in pure hands-off income. Then you acquire self-storage units, followed by a small commercial cleaning company. The owner, Frank, sits across from you at a local diner and asks you to take care of his staff. You look Frank in the eye and give him your word. You deploy a fleet of modest ATMs in local convenience stores, quietly collecting transaction fees while the city sleeps. Your accountant, a sharp woman who handles your growing portfolio, openly calls your investment strategy aggressively boring. You sit back and smile, taking her criticism as the ultimate professional compliment. She looks frustrated by your lack of vanity. The silence, however, comes with a deep isolation. There are massive parts of your life, whole rooms of your identity, that you can never let anyone walk into. Your college best friend Ryan coaches his daughter's soccer team and constantly struggles to pay his bills. Over drinks, he tells you he just needs one single break. You know with absolute certainty that you could wipe out his entire financial burden with a check written in under 60 seconds. But you keep your hands in your pockets. 7 years ago, you gave $40,000 to your old roommate, Derek, because you believed in his flashy business plan. The money vanished in 14 months. The friendship took 2 painful years to recover, leaving a permanent scar that neither of you ever mentions. Wealth doesn't fix a lack of preparation, it only accelerates what's already there. So instead of writing Ryan a check, you spend 3 full Saturdays sitting at his kitchen table with his laptop open, building him a custom cash flow spreadsheet. You explain the financial principles as if you just stumbled across them in a book. 2 weeks later, Ryan texts you in sheer relief, realizing exactly where his money was leaking out. You look out the window of your regular cafe and spot a self-service car wash across the street. It has carried a temporarily closed sign for 4 long months. While waiting for a takeout order on Friday night, you run the public property records on your phone. The owner is a 71-year-old man who retired to Florida. The equipment is older but fully functional, and the location is exceptional. You snap a photograph of the faded contact number on the sign as you walk past. You save the contact in your phone as Car Wash Gerald. You decide you will call him on Thursday morning, making sure not to sound too eager. On a quiet Thursday afternoon, your accountant, Carol, sends over your latest financial reconciliation. The subject line reads a completely plain Q3 summary. You look at the bottom line. You have officially crossed $950 million in total net asset value. You are standing right in front of the condiments display, genuinely deliberating between two different brands of basic pasta sauce. One is 70 cents cheaper, and you honestly can't remember which one tastes better. You stand perfectly still for a moment, the phone heavy in your hand. You buy both sauces, walk back to your ordinary two-bedroom apartment, and make yourself a simple dinner. You realize the more expensive sauce actually does taste better. You step out onto your balcony with a single bottle of cheap beer from a six-pack. Nobody calls to congratulate you. Nobody knows. The city below moves with the exact same unhurried indifference it always has. But inside your chest, you feel something shift. It isn't cheap pride or sudden relief. It feels like a long, slow nod toward your past self across a massive distance of time. You think about a 26-year-old kid borrowing a pickup truck on a freezing Saturday morning, moving a heavy vending machine completely alone while the world doubted him. He would never believe where you are standing right now. You finish your beer, wash your pan in the sink, and go to bed early. It is Tuesday morning again. You sit in your regular corner booth at the cafe, holding a black coffee. Your phone shows two status updates from your property manager and a missed call from an old HVAC company owner looking to transition out of his business. The barista walks over, a pencil still tucked behind her ear, unused. She refills your coffee cup without you even asking. She doesn't know you own 3 major commercial buildings within 4 blocks of where she is standing. She doesn't know your machines are printing cash inside the hospital up north. She just thinks you're the quiet guy in the corner who tips exceptionally well, but never seems to get very far in his book. Out there, 14 different boring businesses are running perfectly without you. That is enough. It is more than enough. It is everything.